because the way they used to do it in his time, you get into the culture of it, how the words are used, foundational, slanted, 1,000 pieces in this.
It's Rainer Wiebe, he sent it me, but I'm not sure that it's original his work. Like
Right.
maybe it's from Cloud Medieval, but I'm not sure.
Well, even though it's a video and it's blurred to me, I think we have some issues with VW, and I would say your best model would be Irene Wellington.
Okay.
And yeah, I would say hers is the most authentic, and she's only one step away from Johnston. She was Johnston's best or favorite pupil. So, but yeah, so it's very direct. She was a very direct writer of calligraphy, no fooling around, and at the same time seemed to understand how that hand worked. Now, what was I thought genius about that was you can compress it. You could expand it, but I don't know why you would, but you could compress it. Johnston's italic was foundational slanted, made oblique. Now, a lot of people didn't like his italic, so that's a personal choice. But anyway, it's you know, I don't want people to forget this is supposed to be fun or enjoyable, but at the same time, like when I was young, I made the similar mistakes, I should say, is that we're not aware of how much was done in the world before we showed up. You know, you said you were 30.
Yes.
Okay, so what happened before 30 years ago? You know, or I mean, as I get older, I'm amazed more at the things that were going on. Now, for my age, I did have some appreciation because I was reading books by older people, you know, like and saying, you know, this is genius. These things they came up with, and I still feel that way about a lot of it. The people I'm talking about, it's not like I don't have that story where I learned with somebody who was bad, you know, and then I had to get educated by somebody else. I always feel I was looking at the best stuff right from the beginning, you know, and so how was I guided to that? I don't know. I mean, that's your sensibilities, your eye. That's personal from person to person. How some people recognize. Same in music, you know, knowing where to go. I mean, and what's the next thing? What should I be interested in? So when I got interested, even though I was working with a brush as a sign painter, when I got interested in pointed brush, very different tool, right? I just started looking at Japanese and Chinese calligraphy. I just soaked it into my brain as much as I could and tried to figure out what was good. Now, about almost 10 years ago, I went to an exhibition with my wife in a place called Nitan, and they had an exhibition of Japanese calligraphy. It had 1,000 pieces in it, 1,000 pieces in this exhibition, 9 floors, I think it was.
Oh.
Now, trying to absorb all that was crazy. But, you know, they grow up with this. And so it's just like learning a language, right? I mean, obviously, I'm assuming you grew up in Bulgaria?
Kind of like, I've been like, I'm 30 and 10 years of my life I've been living outside Bulgaria, but more than half of my life, yes.
Your first language, which was that?
Bulgarian.
Okay. So you were immersed in it. You weren't thinking about it. When you had to learn your second language, there's the level of learning the syntax, but then you get into the culture of it, how the words are used, slang, things like that. Well, that exists in everything, you know.
Yeah.
If I wanted to play in a rock band, if I wanted to play in a country band, I would have to learn the culture of the country band and start to feel it, you know. Otherwise, I would be fake,
Yes.
you know. So, and that's so from brush and wild calligraphy. One of the reasons I came up with that form, proportion, form, rhythm, movement is I was trying to tie those two extremes. Why am I attracted to both extremes? You know, if you ask me what I like, I would just say whatever's good. You know.
And what's good?
Yeah. So, but I think I liken it to somebody like if you know who Anthony Bourdain was, he traveled the world tasting cuisine in different cultures, right?
Okay.
I don't remember him ever saying he liked Italian or Japanese, or I think he just liked good in whatever culture he was in.
Yeah,
You
I
know,
mean, everything, five different things can be uh, in good in five different ways, you know?
right. So it's not a trying to be all things. When I'm doing something that's free, expressive, or inventive, I really try to get my mind and my whole being into that. You
Mm-hmm.
know, I don't have these arguments in my head what's correct or what's not correct. I feel my letter form knowledge is solid enough where I don't have to think about that. And that was a conscious decision. I'd always admired the musicians I admired the most when I was doing music was the people who had such great understanding of musical theory that it wouldn't matter. They could understand what they were doing. It's always struck me as funny that the masters like Andre Segovia in the classical guitar had no tolerance for anything other than classical guitar. He did, if you played the electric guitar, you were no good. If you played flamenco, you were no good. You know, so that always struck me as funny. And I don't know which category Johnston would have been in, because he has to be a thinker to get to that, to write a book like that. But was he a traditionalist? I don't really hear that language. I don't hear him saying, everything the way they used to do it. Yeah, because the way they used to do it in his time was Victorian, which is the stuff that's popular now,
Mm-hmm.
all the flourishes and the pointed pen. So, in a sense, when he was doing it, foundational, that was a very forward-thinking person. Um, Kadich was a very forward-thinking person to do what he did. He was going up against hundreds of years of writing about the Trajan inscription and how it was done, and he was going up against that. And I know it's hard to believe. Before your time, people actually hated him for it.
Well,
Yeah, thought he was disrespecting the past masters, and yeah, because they didn't do it that way. They felt it was looking for all kind. It sounds like argument today in America between the two political parties.
yeah. But you just said like when you write now, you don't think about it because you're confident about it.
I don't judge. I don't think about judgments like is this wrong or is this right.
Yeah, but my question is, how long time it took you to come to this point? How many years, or I don't know, how long time before you felt this way?
Hmm. Well, you've heard me talk a lot about influences of music and stuff. I've always followed my interests. That's
Mm-hmm.
how I did it. So if all of a sudden there comes a time when you get tired of doing something, you've done it enough, and you say, I really want to do more of this, and you start surrounding yourself with it. You start thinking about it. And